Hi everyone, this is Jen, Janine and Felicity from Ready Together, and today we're really excited to be talking to Rachel and Nicole from Learn to Eat, Love to Eat. So thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so we'd love you to just kick off by telling us a little bit about how the two of you set up Learn to Eat, Love to Eat.
Yeah, so Nicole and we met at university studying speech pathology. And the other day I said we met 10 years ago, but I lost a decade in there. It's actually 20, quite scarily enough.
Oh, I do that all the time.
That's awesome.
I mean, my 20s were pretty good, but yeah. Yeah, we met about 20 years ago at university studying speech pathology. And in our studies, we learned about how children learn to eat and chew safely, swallow safely. And we learn about that communication side of eating as well, and provide strategies to parents to ensure that children can eat a nice, healthy range of food. And then after university, we went into our working lives, and Nicole works in disability. We worked in hospitals, community settings, in childcare. And then we became parents around the same time. And that's where Learn to Eat sort of came, because we realised that we were getting many questions from family and friends, and there was so much information on the internet, but where do you find the right information? And that's and the stuff that's really kind of evidence-based. And so we thought we'd start our Learn to Eat workshop starting solids one, and then we've sort of blossomed that out to a fussy eating workshop as well. So children being the best professional development you can get. We've got 4 now, so between the two of us. So yeah, that's where our journey started.
Yeah, wow, that's such a good story, and it's so true that your own kids, it's the best professional development you can get, because you really see how it works in that practical sense. So Ready Together, it's, as you know, we've chatted before this, it's a group of mostly women who are pregnant, or maybe they've just had a baby. And one of the things that's really coming up for people kind of now, because they're heading maybe around 12 weeks and beyond, is how do I start solids and what's the best way to go about it? Could you shed some light on your advice with that?
Yeah, I guess there's 2 main things. One would be safety and the other one would be interest. So for safety, you need some good head and neck control, and your baby needs to be able to sit in a supported position. And then for the other side of things is interest, and that's when you know your baby's developmentally ready. I've got a 7-month-old, so we knew that he was ready to start solids when he was sort of watching our food come up to our lips and start sort of doing that and reaching out to the food. So that's the 2 main things to be ready for. And I think as a parent, you need to be ready as well. So we can look at the baby, but you need to be ready as well. You know, you need to be ready to sort of take that next step in your journey. You might have just got your routine happening with your breast or bottle feeding, and you have to be ready to, you know, make that change to add some solids in and feel relaxed and confident about that as well. So usually we say not before 4 months, usually closer to that 6-month mark.
And you know, some people say that that statement of food before 1 is just for fun. What do you think about that?
Definitely, fun's definitely a big part of learning to eat. We agree with that. But I guess Brittany from Whole Foods had touched on this as well. You've got a nutrition component that's really important when babies are starting their solids, and also thinking about allergies. And babies are learning a new skill. So chewing is a developmental skill. You start with a bit of a sort of a suck and then a munch, and then you learn to move your tongue in different ways so you can learn to chew. And your jaw needs to start learning to move a different way. A really good thing to do is just practice chewing yourself and feel how what your tongue's doing and what your jaw's doing and where you're eating. We often put food in the front of babies' mouths, but they're actually eating on the side. So yes, it's definitely fun's a big component of it. I wouldn't say it's just before one either. It continues. You want fun to continue through toddlerhood, preschool. Even I know I like to have fun when I'm having dinner with my family and friends.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's so true,
Yeah.
isn't it? And so it's such a good point about that side of the mouth. We think that, but yeah, it's really where they chew is up here, isn't it?
Yeah, and you need your tongue to move from side to side. So baby will start chewing with more of a forward back motion. They might be sucking it or smushing it, but to develop those chewing skills, the baby needs to learn to move their tongue side to side.
Oh, that's fascinating. And in there, if you're starting a baby on solids, what would you suggest is the best physical environment for them? Like, where should they be sitting? How do you, the spoon? How would you suggest is the best way to set up to start?
I think there's a few things, in terms of that physical environment, but also like, as Rach touched on, the you being ready, but the physical with the chair, it's so important that the baby needs to be supported in order to stay upright and be able to breathe easily. Then they can focus on food. If they're working really hard to stay upright, they can't focus on eating. So a lot of these little babies that might be showing readiness signs to start solids, they might not be sitting very well in their high chairs yet. So we really need to think about how we provide them with some good support in order to stay upright, because they shouldn't be, slouching over and working really hard to stay upright. So physically having a nice supportive high chair, and even if you need to add some towels or anything like that to help them be more upright, and having that foot support and that core really well supported is going to help them stay upright easier for longer, keep their hands free, so they can explore the food. So the eating is so important. But then there's all these other little things around, a baby, we want the baby to get messy, it shouldn't be a clean thing. So looking at how you're prepared in terms of having lots of face washes and having the bibs and just, being ready for that side of things, because that's a real change in terms of starting solids. And also, I think, thinking about all the equipment that's available, for babies starting solids. If you go to the shops, there's a zillion different sippy cups, and there's lots of spoons and gadgets, and there's so much, and it can be so
overwhelmed. Yeah.
And really, all your baby needs is their hands, to learn to eat, really. But having thinking about whether you want to use spoons and having some nice soft spoons to start with, just thinking about what you're going to do and how you're going to approach it, and do you have the stuff you need. But try not to be overwhelmed by all the things that are out there, that at the end of the day, your baby using their fingers, getting messy, and you being prepared for that is a really good start.
Yeah, so
I love
true.
that.
As inconvenient as the mess is, the sooner they learn and get into it, the better, right?
Absolutely. And there's so many sensory components of eating.
Yeah.
Getting messy is just part of that journey, and part of a really important part of learning to eat. So we really need to, as annoying as it is at times, we absolutely need to embrace it. Maybe not every mealtime of every day, but we absolutely need to let that happen and encourage that mess. Absolutely.
Yeah, and know that it passes eventually when they're 10.
Exactly. The manners come later.
So do you recommend both? Would you recommend that they feed themselves and you feed them as well? Just, is that what you...
Yeah, look, there's the whole baby-led weaning, and then there's the spoon, and then there's a combined approach.
Yeah.
And we would really recommend parents choose what works for them and maybe for their baby. That we really want you parents to really follow their baby's lead. So you know, responding to your baby's cues, and if they're reaching for things and they want to hold on to things, then we really need to encourage that. You know, it's fantastic to be able to use a spoon, but if your baby's not interested and not, you know, that's not a positive experience for them, then there's no reason to push that. So we want parents to feel comfortable with whatever way they choose, and to be really, you know, responsive to the baby's cues.
Yeah, that's good advice. And what about actual food? Is there a particular food that you start with that you'd recommend, or would you more say just go with your baby's lead?
I think Brittany touched on this as well, like in terms of nutrition, but if we're talking a bit more about texture, I guess you want to start with something that's nice and safe. So either a smooth puree on a spoon if you're going that approach, or a really soft solid if you go down that approach. It doesn't matter which food it's going to be, whether you choose, you know, anything. I like to start with something easy like avocado. You just peel it, same banana, but you just do what works for your family. You might choose to have something that you've had for dinner. But yeah, it's just about, and it's just, the start is just a small taste.
Yeah.
I see lots of videos on Facebook, and these babies are like shoving their face into ice creams and like trying to grab things out of people's hands. And when you're first starting to feed a baby, it is just a small amount.
Yeah.
And it's important just to follow their lead, like Nicole said, and you just pop a little bit on the spoon, or they can grab it themselves, but just waiting for your baby to come towards the spoon as well. And it's just, you know, you might start off with even just a teaspoon or less to begin with.
Yeah, it's so true, because you don't want to overwhelm that little gut straight away. I used to give my babies one spoon for them, one for me.
Yeah, that's really handy. And maybe a third one when they throw it on the ground.
Yeah,
That's right.
they rotate. Okay, 2 on the high chair, 1 in my hand. We'll just see what happens. But, you know, I found with my 4 kids, it definitely loosened as I went. And, you know, I don't even remember my 4th starting to eat, you know. It just, like, I'm pretty sure he just got served a piece of lasagna and he just ate it. That was it.
Yeah.
Okay. What if things aren't going well? You know, if the baby isn't interested, or that, you know, it's a struggle. What should the parents be doing?
I think that's a really great question, because I think we see lots of examples of these babies lurching towards foods and reaching for foods, and part of the recommendation about when to start is, you know, when they show interest. And it's a big stress for parents when they don't show that interest, or it maybe gets off to a negative start. And again, responding to your baby's cues is just so important, and not feeling the need to push them and rush them or compare them to other babies. And I personally experienced this firsthand with my second, where she was approaching the 6-month mark. She was sitting up in the high chair with, you know, at meal times. She was kind of looking at what we were doing, but she wasn't reaching for or showing those signs that Rach, you know, spoke about her little one doing. And so, you know, when she was approaching 6 months, I was like, well, maybe I just need to really, you know, put some food to her, you know, offer her and just see what happens. Maybe she just needs to be offered. And when I did, and I was already thinking this was going to be the start of her journey, because, you know, she was nearly 6 months and you know, showing me that she was physically maybe ready. And she wasn't, you know, she closed her lips, she turned her head away, she ignored the food. And I had to really respect her communication there. She didn't want it that day. So I put it on her tray in front of her, and I carried on eating my meal. And the next day and the next day, I just would put maybe some food on her tray, or even just an empty spoon, and let her explore. So there's lots of things that I did that help her on her journey of learning to, you know, accept food and put food in her mouth. So it wasn't like, oh, she's not ready, I'm going to walk away and try again in a month. It's like, no, I'm just going to provide the opportunities for her to learn in the pace that she's ready, you know, and when she's ready, she'll bring that food to her mouth, or she will open her and lean into that spoon. And it took a month or 2 for her to really put food to her mouth and to be tasting more food. but she had a lovely time on the way of playing with the food and just learning about it in that way. And so I think it's just so important that we don't focus too much on exactly that it's 6 months and they should be eating, that it's we're giving them the opportunity to learn, and we're giving them the smell and the feel and we're offering, but we're absolutely being responsive to the cue.
Yeah, I love that so much,
so
and it
lovely.
just goes to show how important that knowledge is that you guys getting out there, because so many of us would make the mistake without that knowledge that I must, distract you and shove it in.
Yeah,
I really do.
Which can create that negative relationship, which is absolutely what we don't want.
absolutely.
And
The
so,
sweet, let's try something sweet, and then when they're going for that, you shove
something else in.
Yeah.
And
I
but
think,
if we don't know, we don't know,
yeah.
and we think, well, you need this, but actually, knowing to follow that lead. It's so
and seeing what other people are doing and going, oh, well, I must be, you need to have it because everyone else is eating at this age. And I think, we practice fully, that division of responsibility around meal times, around that we're responsible for providing the environment and providing the food and offering the food, but the baby's always responsible for whether they choose to eat or not and how much they want to have. And I think it's so easy in those moments of stress, and when you're comparing your baby with others, to maybe think that you know better than your baby and to try and trick or coax them and force them a bit more, but really we've got to trust them. And I can say now I have a 2-year-old who is just a fantastic eater. And by the time she was 1, you wouldn't have known she had such a slow start, because it was a really positive experience for her. And also I had no reason to believe there was anything medically or physically wrong. And I'd say to people, if you do have concerns, get that help and seek advice from professionals, because there might be an underlying reason. But we really do have to trust the babies a little bit.
Absolutely. So you guys have a course, and is that are you doing that online yet, or is it just in person?
Yes, we've got so we're doing a starting solids course that's about an hour and a half, and we can keep our chatting to the right now. We could talk all day about these things. And we have a fussy eating course that we're doing online as well.
Okay, we're so interested in fussy eating as well.
Yes.
So maybe if you guys are willing, we'd love to get you back for a second chat. We could talk a little bit about that.
We could talk about that all day too.
And so,
thank you so much. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, do you have any sort of just top tips? There's a couple of top tips for mums that are sort of about to start their solids or feeding, or just something that to hit them in the way, on the way.
How long have you got? No.
We'd talk about this all day too. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
So probably, just like Nicole said, try not to compare your baby with others. Follow your baby's cues, and just try and make it your mission to make meal times enjoyable and fun. And if you do that, you're on the right track to positive meal times for life.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. That's lovely.
Thank you so much, guys, for your time, and we can't wait to have you back another time for a chat about toddlers.
Yes.
Thank you. We can't wait.
Thanks,
It's lovely to see you. Bye.
You too.
Bye.